7 years, 7 jobs, and a failed pre-sales career. I'm going to tell you the tragic and cautionary tale of Susan and 5 lessons we can take away from her ill-fated attempt as a sales engineer. Today on The Hits 5. What's up, hitters? This is Brandon Grieve with High Impact Technical Sales, enabling and inspiring you to crush it in technical sales. I recently received a direct message from a nice lady that I've known in the industry for several years. Though she gave me permission to use our discussion publicly, I promised that I'd keep her anonymous. I'll just refer to her as Susan in this video. I can't restate Susan's words better than she did herself. Therefore, I'm going to read the conversation exactly as it happened. Susan, what are your thoughts around actively listening and understanding versus speaking and establishing credibility? I never got this balance right. I was always told to be more assertive and speak up more, but customers tend to dislike engineers assuming a solution when they didn't understand the problem. Does that make sense? Brandon, great question and great topic idea. Have you ever seen a movie or show where someone's lying on their therapist's comfy couch and the therapist is asking them questions? This gets the patient to open up and start talking. By the end, the patient says, "Doc, you're a genius." Did the therapist really assert the solution? No, they just asked pointed questions but accomplished 3 very important things. 1, they let the customer do most of the talking. 2, they guided the customer to a solution. And 3, they collected valuable insights to use for next steps. So my suggestion is to be the therapist. Asking lots of carefully crafted, relevant questions makes you look smart and seem engaged, while allowing you to collect the data you need to understand the problem so you can offer or guide the customer to a solution. Is that helpful? Susan, actually, yes, insightful. I always thought I was good at asking the important questions, but maybe didn't leverage the conversation to its full potential. Perhaps I could try more carefully crafted questions and make things more conversational. It's a balancing act. Brandon, it truly is, and sometimes we have to balance technical questions with business questions. Shifting from "what's the problem" to "what effect is this having on your business" elevates the discussion. Also, I suggest asking next level questions. Instead of just stopping after the first question, go deeper. For instance, once you've discovered that through questioning, for example, SQL performance problems are causing the ERP system to become unresponsive for the operations users, what else can you ask? How does that affect their work? What material and financial impact does that have on the business? What would happen if you did nothing? What level in the company has a vested interest in solving this? What does a win here mean for you personally, Mr. and Mrs. Customer? See what I'm saying? These questions behind the questions help you really get to the heart of the problem and may lead you to a solution that they may not have thought of previously. This sets you apart. Susan, it would have been cool to have this info before I went headfirst into the essie abyss. I'm not sure I will ever go back to pre-sales, but really, this applies to any consultative approach. It sure does, Susan. It sure does. To a large degree, the conversation is self-explanatory, and many of the lessons are clear. However, I'd like to draw out 5 specific lessons that we can learn from my discussion with Susan. By heeding this cautionary tale, perhaps this will help save others, maybe even you, from experiencing a similar fate. Number 1. Talking doesn't make you smart. As Susan stated, she had a tough time finding a balance between talking and listening. Most of us know intellectually that the customer should do most of the talking while we listen. In many sales discussions I observe, however, the salesperson does most of the talking. In Susan's case, she was even often told by her coworkers that she needed to speak up more. There's a common misconception that the smartest person in the room is the one doing most of the talking. This is far from the truth. Again, hearken back to my analogy of the inquisitive therapist. They let the patient do most of the talking, yet are often seen as the genius in the end. But you can't exactly say nothing either. As I suggested to Susan, a high-quality line of thought-provoking questions makes you look intelligent while allowing the customer to do most of the talking. This concept isn't unprecedented either. Here are a few of my favorite quotes on the topic. The marvelous thing about a good question is that it shapes our identity as much by the asking as it does by the answering. David White. It is not the answer that enlightens, but the question. Eugene Ionesco. A prudent question is one half of wisdom. Francis Bacon. In short, if you want to be perceived as a wise consultant, be more like the therapist. Ask a lot of questions that guide the customer to a solution. This will provide the ultimate balance between speaking and listening. Number 2. Don't forget about the business side. There are two sides of the technical sales equation, technical and business. Of course, a line of relevant technical questions is necessary for your discovery. It would be difficult to design a solution without a thorough understanding of the customer's environment. That said, be sure to spend at least as much time on business-related questions. Sure, it's important to know what the problem is. However, even more important is what effect the problem is having on the business. As I said in last week's video, customers buy stuff to solve problems or meet unfulfilled needs. They're motivated to address pain that either costs them money or prevents them from making more money. Your job as a sales professional is to discover what that pain is. Further, you need to understand the extent to which it is affecting their business. No pain, no deal. Additionally, it's imperative to have a firm grasp on the customer's business initiatives, goals, stakeholders, financial landscape, and much more. The more you can learn about your customer's business, the better equipped you'll be to provide a solution that meets their needs. This will allow you to be a well-rounded consultant and trusted advisor. Number 3. Ask the next level questions. This could be viewed as a continuation of the previous lesson, but with a focus in a different perspective. The point here is to go deeper into your line of questioning until you discover the real issue. I commonly observe salespeople who ask a question, then move on once they've received the answer without further qualification. For example, let's say your customer says, "We're having database performance problems." Your mind should immediately jump to, "So what?" Keep doing that until you've exhausted that line of questioning and uncovered the real problem. In this case, I would respond with a series of questions such as the following. Brandon, that's not good. What applications is this impacting? Customer, it's the back end for our order entry system and is causing slow response times for our users. Brandon, I see. And who is this primarily affecting? Customer, the biggest impact is to our inbound sales team. Brandon, just so I understand, what specific tasks are they trying to accomplish when they experience the slowness? Customer, they're trying to enter live sales transactions. Sometimes they're unable to complete the sale. Brandon, that sounds like a problem. Is this issue impacting revenue? If so, to what degree? Customer, it absolutely is. Like I said, sometimes the salespeople can't complete their sales. We estimate that we lose between $5,000 and $10,000 per day in revenue as a direct result. Brandon, wow. If I've done my math correctly, that's roughly $1.5 to $3 million a year in lost revenue. Does that sound right? Customer, it sure does. Brandon, who in the organization is most concerned about this problem? Are they motivated to find a resolution? Customer, the VP of Sales, CFO, and even the CEO have their sights set squarely on this. They want to have a solution in place before our next quarterly earnings call. Do you see how powerful this is? It started with a simple statement like, "We're having database performance problems." But we were able to continue asking "so what" questions until we uncovered the cost of the problem, the level of executive support, and a timeline. Don't worry if the person with whom you're speaking doesn't know all the answers. Rarely does a single person. Just find out who may know and continue your conversations accordingly. Number 4. SE-specific training resources are scarce. One thing that really stuck out to me is Susan's comment, "It would have been cool to have this info before I went headfirst into the SE abyss." This confirms what I and many others in the industry have been saying for a long time. There are woefully few resources available on how to be a great sales engineer. The SE role is an interesting one, part technologist and part salesperson. The irony is that it's easy to find training resources on sales or any one of many technical topics. There's no shortage of books, videos, classes, labs, and more. The problem is that the SE role does not fit squarely in either one of those camps. In nearly all cases, SEs come from a technical background. They may start their career as a systems administrator, data center engineer, developer, DBA, or some other technical role. That makes sense to a large degree, but the personalities, skills, and often bedside manner are usually quite different from that of a salesperson. Making that transition is not easy, and sometimes it's just not a good fit at all. Effectively balancing technology and sales is a unique skill set for which many aren't well suited. This can be a rude awakening for most new SEs in that position. It's clear we as an industry need to do a better job of training, coaching, and mentoring those who aspire to this role. Learning the technology is the easy part, and most SEs come into the role with that skill set. Learning sales skills and how to apply our technical knowledge in the sales situations is another story. Again, there are many resources to learn the sales side. I believe the following to be some of the most fundamental sales skills that all SEs should master: relationship building, discovery and qualification, presentations, business writing, including email and customer-facing documentation, and conducting an effective meeting. Identify available learning resources for each of these skills and start digesting as much of that as possible. But don't bite off more than you can chew. Pick an area, become comfortable with it, then move on. Number 5. Be committed to the mission, but flexible on the tactics. I'm not sure I will ever go back to pre-sales. That's how Susan started her very last sentence. It's sad, really. She's a nice person. People like her, and she seemed to enjoy pre-sales. But at some point, she tapped out. There comes a time when we need to step back and reflect on what's working and what's not working. After 7 years and as many jobs, Susan wasn't able to make the necessary adjustments. In her own words, "I never got this balance right." I wish that I or some other mentor type would have had the opportunity to speak with her about this earlier in her pre-sales journey. Perhaps things may have turned out differently. In our careers, as in life, we must make adjustments, especially when embarking on a new journey. No one ever gets it right 100% of the time, but if we're committed to the mission and don't give up, we always have a fighting chance. Keep in mind, this isn't a solo sport. Ask others, managers, other successful SEs, and even outside experts to gain new perspectives. If you try something for a while and it doesn't work, keep trying new things until you find what works for you. Learn new ideas and ways of doing things. Sometimes it's just a matter of changing your perspective. But whatever you do, if you truly love it, as Winston Churchill once famously said, never give in. Please realize that I'm not picking on Susan. As I said, I'm using her words and she gave me permission to share a conversation publicly. I'm glad she did. There were several great nuggets that we both thought were valuable to share with others in the community. I don't believe Susan ever had a great mentor and coach to help develop her into the role and provide guidance along the way. As we discussed in lesson number 4, there just aren't many resources in this regard. For this reason, High Impact Technical Sales was born. I hope that my conversation with Susan and the 5 lessons I drew from it were enlightening. I also hope that you can adopt and apply these lessons in your own career. Nothing makes me happier than knowing that I helped others, even if only in a small way. But what do you think? I'd love to hear your feedback. Leave a comment and let's talk about it. Until next time, be enabled, be inspired, and go crush it in technical sales.